Hi, everyone. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist, and I want to share a little psychological commentary on an event that is being covered extensively in the news right now, and that is the really tragic murders of two individuals in Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. Dentist Spencer Tepe and his wife Monique. He was 37 and she was 39. On the morning of December 30th, they were both found dead from gunshot wounds. He apparently had had multiple gunshot wounds, and she reportedly had one gunshot wound to the chest. These two individuals have two young children, reportedly ages 1 and 4. The circumstances of this situation are confusing because there appeared to be no forced entry. There was no firearm found in the home. Actually, multiple welfare checks by law enforcement had been conducted. For the first welfare check, the law enforcement officer went to the home and apparently knocked on both the front and back doors, but didn't hear or see any activity. Later welfare checks, however, did reveal what truly happened, that the two parents had been killed. There is a lot of speculation in the news about what happened. At this point, however, there's been no suspect that's been clearly identified. There's been no motive reported for what happened. By many accounts, Dr. Tepe was a very responsible and reliable person. So when he didn't show up for work on time, as always, people at work worried. They made multiple calls to law enforcement to try to request the welfare check. More details will certainly be revealed in this tragic case. Law enforcement will do its job as well as possible to try to figure out what happened. What I want to focus on for a moment is the two young children. One of the things that happens immediately in cases like this is that social services staff work with law enforcement to come to the aid of any young children involved and try to provide support. And here's what's really important when it comes to young children who experience a major trauma. Think about it. It is really hard to imagine a trauma that a young child could go through that is worse than not just experiencing the loss of one parent, but both parents. In this case, we don't know exactly what happened, what they saw, what they heard, but losing both of their parents is an incredible trauma that will require a lot of mental health treatment. Now, there is mental health treatment that is evidence based, and that is what I really want to share with viewers now. In this case, my hope is that the social service staff work not just to set an individual up with therapy, but actually evidence based treatment that is specific to help young children deal with trauma, significant, major traumas that, can feel life threatening. Did these young children experience fear to the point that they thought their own life may have been in danger? That is certainly possible. Well, there are multiple evidence based therapies. In this case, as I mentioned, hopefully these young children will be guided by good evidence based, research based treatments. But for any of you who also know any young children currently who have experienced a major life trauma or in the future, let me just share a statistic to give a little context here. So, a study showed in the year 2020, for example, about 25,000 children lost a parent due to firearm violence. Lost a parent in this traumatic way due to firearm violence. Now, if you come across, you have family or friends, people in your community who experience trauma like this, one of the things that you can do is not just recommend therapy or mental health treatment, but treatments like trauma focused cognitive behavior therapy, TFCBT for short. This is a highly researched trauma therapy that is known to significantly reduce some of the trauma symptoms that can show up in young children after experiencing something like this. In addition, there's child parent psychotherapy, or CPP for short. In addition, there is PCIT, which is parent child interaction therapy. Now, what's really important to note about these three types of therapies for children who experience trauma that I have mentioned is that they all invoke a component of bringing the caregiver in to the therapy sessions, to the treatment, because young children, they need not just an individual one-on-one therapy session, but the therapy is most helpful if a caregiver, a current caregiver, can be brought into the treatment as well. This can help to make that young child feel a greater sense of safety. Now, it sounds like, by all accounts, this couple, Dr. Tepe and his wife Monique, it sounds like they had many people in their life who loved them, who cared about them. And that can bode very well for these young children, that there will still be a network of support and caregiving for these young children. That is really the hope. Anytime you have a child who experiences a major traumatic event, that they have social support, that whatever continuity in friends or extended family members that they can go a long way in making that child feel that there is some sense of continuity and emotional safety. I'm Dr. Seth, psychologist.